Hi friends, in the last video we talked about describe image. In this video we will talk about Retell lecture. Now before we talk about Retell lecture, I would like to brush up the basic strategies of the speaking section. Now what you speak is not important than how you speak. In speaking you will be judged and scored on your oral fluency and pronunciation. Basically you need to speak like a native speaker. Now coming to Retell lecture. In Retell lecture, you will hear a 90-second lecture which you need to retell it in 40 seconds. Now, in the examination, you will be given an erasable notepad. On that notepad, the 90-second lecture which you listen, you note down the important points and you retell them in 40 seconds. So basically, if you note down 4 important points, you save 10 seconds for each point in the Retell lecture. And if you note down 5 important points, then 8 seconds for each point in the Retell lecture. So in this way, it's not like describe image where there is introduction, body and conclusion. It's the chronological order of the main lecture which has to be there in the 40 second. So it's kind of a summary of the main lecture. Now how it has to be done, I'll do it for you as an example which will help you to understand how it has to be answered.
Test 1. Retell lecture. Page 21. 1.
In today's lecture, I'm going to talk about changes in air pollution since the middle of the last century and what has created these changes. So, by the 1950s, air pollution was very visible, with frequent thick black fogs known as smogs in many large cities around the world. The main source of this pollution was from factories, and it caused severe health problems. For example, a particularly severe smog in London in 1952 caused over 4,000 deaths. Obviously, something had to be done, and in 1956, a Clean Air Act was introduced in Britain. This addressed the pollution from factories, and the smog soon disappeared. However, as you know, these days air pollution is still a big issue. The main difference between now and the 1950s is that you can't see it, it's invisible. Also, the main source of pollution now is from cars and lorries, and although these don't produce visible signs, this air pollution is still a significant risk to health. And one of the key factors in the rise of this type of pollution is that we have all become much more vehicle dependent. There are far more cars and lorries, trains and planes than in the 1950s. And this is now the main source of air pollution around the world.
Now as you can hear it from the lecture, so basically the lecture is talking about air pollution and so what important points you'll note down is the air pollution like in early 90s and what are the reasons of air pollution and what has to be done to curb that air pollution and what are the reasons of air pollution now and so here how you will note down these important points and then you will say it in 40 seconds. So basically I'll retell the lecture in this way. The lecture talks about air pollution. In early 90s the air pollution was because of the factories. To curb that air pollution, a Clean Air Act was introduced. But nowadays, there is the invisible air pollution, which is through cars and lorries, because people have become more vehicle dependent, and so there are a lot of vehicles which is creating pollutions. This has to be curbed by taking important steps. So this is how you will retell your lecture after you have listened to it. Note down the important points. Hope this will help you to answer this particular question. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. Please read the description of the video for any queries regarding PTE. Thank you and have a nice day.